The rusted bus screeched to a halt, its brakes groaning like a wounded beast. Obinna Okoye stepped down onto the dusty roads of Abub, the sun casting long, merciless shadows across the cracked pavement. The town was both familiar and foreign, its colors dulled by memories he'd rather forget. He carried nothing but a small, worn-out bag slung over his shoulder. No family waiting, no friends to greet him. Just whispers. Isn't that him? The one who killed Ifeoma? 10 years, and he's back? 10 years in prison. 10 years since they stole his future, carved his name into the town's history as a villain. The boy who once dreamed of becoming a doctor had been replaced by a man with hollow eyes and a face that had forgotten how to smile. His family home was a shell-cracked walls, broken windows, and the faint scent of decay. His father had died of heartbreak during the trial. His mother had left, vanishing like a shadow at dusk. Obinna stood in the doorway, staring at the empty space where family photos once hung. "I'm back," he whispered, though there was no one left to hear. The following afternoon, Obinna found himself in a small, dusty corner store, picking up a few essentials. His face remained guarded, avoiding eye contact with the cashier, who glanced at him with thinly veiled suspicion. As he reached for a bottle of water, someone bumped into him, causing a can of beans to tumble to the floor. "Oh, I'm so sorry," a woman's voice exclaimed. Obinna turned to see Amaka Okafor, her braided hair pulled back neatly. She bent down quickly to pick up the can, her smile apologetic, yet warm. "It's fine," Obinna muttered, his tone curt but not unfriendly. Amaka laughed softly. "Guess I'm a little clumsy today." She glanced at him again. They exchanged brief pleasantries, nothing remarkable. Fate or coincidence crossed their paths again a few days later at a small roadside cafe. Obinna sat alone, sipping bitter coffee, lost in thought. Amaka recognized him immediately. "Mind if I join you?" she asked, her voice casual. Obinna shrugged, not particularly caring. They talked, their conversation starting with small talk, but gradually peeling back layers. Amaka had an easy way about her, curious but not intrusive, thoughtful without being overly sympathetic. Eventually, Obinna said it out loud, surprising even himself. "I just got out of prison." Amaka paused, then nodded, as if he'd told her something as simple as the weather. "What happened?" "False accusation," he replied quietly. "They said I killed someone. I didn't." Amaka didn't flinch. She didn't rush to comfort him or ask invasive questions. She just listened. "I'm going to find out who really did it," Obinna added after a pause. "I have to." Obinna's need for answers grew unbearable. The ghosts of the past whispered louder with each passing day. With Amaka's encouragement, he decided to seek out Inspector Kofi Mensah, the officer who had handled his case. Kofi had once been respected, but time had worn him down. Obinna found him slouched in a dusty office tucked behind the police station, the stench of alcohol lingering in the air. "What do you want?" Kofi grumbled without looking up. "To know why you ruined my life," Obinna replied, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. Kofi finally looked at him, recognition dawning. "Oh, the ex-con?" He chuckled bitterly. "What's the point digging up bones, boy? The past is buried for a reason." "Not my past," Obinna snapped. Kofi sighed, rubbing his temples. "The case was simple. The evidence pointed to you." "No, it was convenient," Obinna shot back. "Convenient isn't the same as true." After a tense silence, Kofi agreed to revisit the case. With Amaka's support and Kofi's reluctant guidance, Obinna began piecing together the fragments of his past. They revisited the places tied to the crime, the old community center, now abandoned and swallowed by weeds, the dark alley where Ifeoma was last seen. They spoke to people who had testified against him, but most avoided him like a plague. Those who did talk offered little faded memories, rehearsed statements, shaky details, but the deeper they dug, the more cracks appeared. Witnesses who had mysteriously left town, police reports with missing pages, evidence that had gone missing during the trial. Obinna felt the walls closing in again, but this time he wasn't trapped. He was pushing back. One evening, after hours spent poring over old files in Kofi's dimly lit office, Obinna returned home exhausted. The small, dusty apartment he'd rented felt colder than usual. As he shut the door behind him, he noticed an envelope slipped under the door. No name, no note. Just a plain, unmarked envelope. Inside was a photograph. Blurry, grainy a photo from the night Ifeoma disappeared. In the background, almost hidden in the shadows, was a figure. Their face was unclear, but something about the silhouette felt familiar. On the back of the photo was a single word, scribbled in shaky handwriting. Run. Obinna stared at the photo, his heart racing. He recognized the street, the night. But the figure? He had no idea who it was. Obinna standing alone in the dim light of his apartment, the photograph trembling slightly in his hand. In the shadows outside, unseen by him, a pair of eyes watched from the darkness.